Yeah, for the article, we're kind of just again trying to help people understand these new warnings that they're going to be getting and the new hazard simplification that you guys are rolling out. So just kind of to start, can you describe the hazard simplification project? What are the goals of it, and how will it help the public understanding of all these warnings that you guys put out?
Sure. Well, essentially, the changes here coming up uh, at the first of the month are to our cold season products. So I'm sure many folks are familiar with our wind chill watches, warnings, and advisories. These are going to be replaced by an extreme cold watch or warning and a cold weather advisory. So, the reason for the change basically, we're just trying to emphasize to the public and our partners that cold is cold, no matter whether or not there is a wind chill involved. So, we're focusing more on the apparent temperature or the feels like temperature. Now, that doesn't mean the wind chill won't be an important factor. But let's look at a couple of examples. Let's say you have a cold Canadian high pressure center right over the area. The air temperature is 30 below zero, but the wind is completely calm. Well, that is still that would warrant an extreme cold warning because the temperature is minus 30. There's no wind chill in there, but it's still extremely cold and dangerous. Now, let's say your temperature is around zero, but you have a wind around 30 miles an hour, and the wind chill and the resulting apparent temperature is also 30 below. That again is a potentially dangerous situation. So we're treating those similarly, whether or not you have strong winds or not, because extreme cold again is dangerous, whether or not you have strong winds or a case where you have relatively calm winds. Now, the basic criteria um, for the extreme cold watch and warning and the cold weather advisory uh, haven't really changed a lot over most of your viewing area. The criteria there for the cold weather advisory would be um, minus uh, minus 20 to 29 Fahrenheit for the apparent temperature and minus 30 Fahrenheit or colder for the extreme cold warning.
Yeah,
So those numbers still haven't changed
yeah,
from the previous products. Now, southern portions of your viewing area, say from um, Fort Madison down through Macomb and
yeah,
Monmouth and Aledo and Galesburg, those areas, the criteria is 5 degrees warmer, actually. So the
yeah.
advisory range is minus 15 to minus 24, and the warning is minus 25 or colder. So a small adjustment there for southern portions of your viewing area. For most of the area, no change. So, um, we certainly want to get this word out to the partners. Many school districts rely on this criteria and these products when they make decisions on whether or not to delay or close school. So, uh, we get like to get the word out so that they can review their procedures and make sure they're squared away and making the right decisions.
Wow, thank you. It made me answer half of my questions there. It's perfect. So yeah, so again, so pretty much just to summarize, the wind chill warnings and are just becoming cold watches and advisories just because you can still be cold without having that wind chill. And it's kind of, if you can, it all fits into one category really, and that'll help the public.
That's right. Because we did have some situations where it would be extremely cold, but yet there was technically no wind chill because you have a calm wind. Still a dangerous situation. So these new products focusing on extreme cold are, as you mentioned, a catch-all. Cold is cold, whether or not you have strong winds or not.
Exactly. And I saw this as a little fun fact. You can actually create your own wind too when you're in these cold temperatures. Morgan and I were looking into that. It's just kind of fun.
Oh,
A bit. I don't know if you knew that we humans create their own wind just by walking. So that can technically create a wind chill.
and yeah, that is true. I've never uh, really thought in depth about that aspect.
Oh yeah, that's just a fun fact we saw when we were researching it.
Yeah, and I imagine if you're out for a run, you may be creating quite a wind chill
Oh yeah,
for yourself. Another reason to be really careful, and safety wise, I mean, if you're out driving in this extreme cold and your car breaks down and you have to walk somewhere for safe shelter, that's just another reason why these situations can be really dangerous. So, yeah, the certainly this time of the year where we're starting to kind of transition into cold season
mhm.
mode. Still a ways to go, but that's kind of why we're getting the word out, and we certainly appreciate your help too for your attention to this and helping out with public awareness.
Of course, yeah. It's always important to make sure the public knows. And there's another change that you guys are making now. Hard freezes and freezes are changing. What was that difference originally, and why do you think you're changing it to just a freeze warning watch?
Sure. Well, this one actually does not affect our office or the viewing area
Okay.
because the hard freeze warning is a product that not all weather service offices issued. So our office um, has only issued the freeze warning.
Okay.
Now, if it's going to be a quote hard freeze where you have temperatures of 28 degrees Fahrenheit or colder uh, for for at least several hours, kind of a killing type of freeze. We will mention that, of course, in the freeze warning.
Yes.
We'll mention those temperatures, but for us, the actual product still stays the same. So, still the one freeze warning product for us that gets the standard freeze below 32 or below, and then also the even colder conditions that we typically would call a hard freeze. So
Mhm. Perfect. And then kind of one last one, so we don't have to keep you too long here. I know it's a big word you guys are focusing on with this change is how is it going to impact the general public? So kind of why are you guys focusing on the word impact, and how is that trend going to apply to this hazard simplification process?
sure. Well, this is quite a process for the National Weather Service as a whole. It takes a lot of planning. There are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes for these changes to occur. So we're still on that path. There's still changes to come in the next few years. So the bottom line here, when we get to the end stage and the total result, is to really simplify things for the public. there is a lot of confusion between watches and warnings and advisories and so forth. We're trying to consolidate the types of information and the products that we issue, and in some cases focus more on the plain language of what's going to happen. For example, 3 to 5 inches of snowfall expected this weekend in the Quad Cities. So eventually that's what we would be saying instead of maybe a winter weather advisory in effect for the
Yes.
Quad Cities. So that change is still a ways down the road, but we found, there is a lot of confusion sometimes over the advisory warning criteria, but we're going that direction towards that plain language of just really telling folks what's going to happen. Hey, we're going to get 3 to 5 inches of snow, and maybe there be maybe an hour or two in there where it's going to be really heavy snow. So focusing on what's going to happen and the impacts rather than getting people confused with whether it's an advisory or not and that type of thing. That's why we're trying to simplify things, overall, enhance the public's understanding and their response to this information, inevitably, hopefully keeping them safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I know, like when I first started learning all this, I was watches warnings, and I know we still get questions at school tours and teaching classes. What do these mean? I think it's great.
Yep, and we do have a link to that I believe you have on our website.
Yes.
That is really a good resource because you can see the whole list of warnings and watches and
Oh yeah.
advisories, and you can scroll down. Well, what exactly does this mean for me? So that's a pretty good resource that we're trying to emphasize this year, and even include that in some of the graphics and that type of information that we send out, because it can be confusing, and we need to really work as hard as we can at the education process.